Welcome everyone to the September 10th Park and Rec meeting. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Tim, you want to do us the honors?
Sure. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So the agenda for tonight, we have some minutes to accept, then we'll hear from the Littleton Historical Society about using Fay Park. And then Mark Rombacher's here from the Board of Library Trustees to discuss the new library project. And we have a discussion on credit card fees for the PRCE registration software, discussion on some upcoming meetings. We will hear from Alicia with the director's report, update on the Community Preservation Committee projects from Mike, and then we'll get a Long Lake Beach update from Tim. And then discuss a couple upcoming events and any new business. So, hey Sean.
Hi. Sorry, creature habit. I went to the
Crawl under.
went to the Park and Rec building.
So if we can start with the minutes, guys, we can get those out of the way.
I don't know if that's enough.
So we're just reviewing the minutes.
Yep.
I just noticed that I seconded the adjournment of the meeting, but I wasn't there.
Okay, I need to fix that.
Make your way into any other motions, did you?
I thought with the Taste of Littleton, I thought we weren't moving forward with that. We talked about Cornwall.
Yeah, I think we left it open to Tim.
I just don't think we ever made a motion on it to vote on it. I don't.
Where are you looking?
You guys did make a vote, we just didn't get to that second part, to get a one-day liquor license for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it just said I did, and I don't remember doing it.
Oh, it's okay.
You know, there was some conversation about it possibly
Yeah,
not happening.
my recollection is that we approved it with the, just in case we were going to move forward with it,
Correct.
but the discussion, based on the discussion, we kind of figured it probably wasn't going to move forward this year.
Correct.
But we voted to approve it just in case Tim pulled it together.
Okay.
And we did it along with Oktoberfest.
Did it happen?
No.
No.
So, and we were having scheduling issues with trying to get with the Board of Selectmen with that too, so it happens. So like Mike said, we were attempting to try to do it, but being proactive, and it just didn't work out. It's okay.
All right, motion to approve the minutes from July 9th?
With that one change,
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the change, of course.
I second.
All right. All those in favor of approving the July 9th meeting minutes with the amended adjournment motion? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, Littleton Historical Society. Hi, welcome. Asking for use for Fay Park for Strawberry Moon Powwow on, that can't be right, June 19th? Oh, no, yes, it
Yeah.
could be. June 19th through the 20th of 2020, and are looking to have a fee raised. Do you want to come and sit up here so we can hear you from the mic, or that people at home can?
All right, well, what would you like to know?
Tell us about the event. It looks I can't remember ever having a powwow in Littleton.
Well, that's true. It's been a good over 300 years since there has been a powwow in Littleton. Littleton is, of course, a praying Indian village, originally a praying Indian village, and the Neshoba Indians. And the good news is the Neshoba Indians are alive and well, and they are still praying Indians. They still hold Christian religious services. And about 2 years ago, the Historical Society crossed paths with the praying Indians. And ever since then, we've gotten into a good friendship. We're starting a Indian museum at the Historical Society, and we're now looking at having a powwow. The Neshoba would like to reconnect with the community, to be visibly a part of the community again. And they came up with the date of June 20th, 2020, and that being the strawberry moon. They have spiritual significance to the strawberry, and they thought it'd be a great way to once again enter visibly into the Littleton community. The powwow itself, they're looking to have maybe 4 or 5 native vendors. These would be tents full of native crafts that they've made. They're looking to have some sort of native food. Apparently the buffalo burger truck may be there. And if any luck, we may have Ed's Weenies. So there'd be a little bit of both there. Some of the things that they're looking for is they're looking to come in late on the day on the 19th and set up the booths. Sometime in the evening, they'd like to have a little ceremonial fire to do some kind of ceremonial spiritual thing to kind of prepare the place. We've talked to the fire department, and they said that's fine to have a little fire. The vendors, it's traditional at powwows for the vendors to come in the evening and set up and then sleep in their setup, be it a teepee, be it a tent. So that's one of the things that we'd be looking for, is if the vendors could overnight at the park.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about the day. Like, how do you foresee the event unfolding?
Okay, they're looking to start at noon on Saturday. They would start with something called a grand entry, and that is that's just, it kicks everything off. All the natives come in. They do a number of dances, 3 particular dances. Then the native dancing is open to everyone in the community. They envision this as a community event. They'll be teaching people how to dance. We expect to have the Boy Scouts come in and do a few turns as well. We're thinking that perhaps the Tehadawon Lodge, named after Chief Tehadawon of the Neshoba Indians, will attend. So pretty much from noon to 5, it's going to be dancing, singing, vendors that you can see,
Yep.
go to, face painting. They want to have some stuff for the kids. I'm not exactly sure what. So just basically singing and dancing from noon to 5.
Okay. Is there a fundraising aspect to it? Will you be charging people for anything?
No,
besides-
it's going to be entirely free. The Historical Society is going to be working on the finances as well as raising money around town.
Okay.
So, no, we're not going to be charging anyone.
Okay. You guys have any questions?
Is it done on the 20th, or do they stay overnight on the 20th?
They'd be coming in the afternoon of the 19th, staying over, and that would just be the vendors. It would be maybe 4 or 5 vendors, and they'd be breaking down after 5. Expect a couple of hours to break down after 5 on Saturday the 20th, and then they'd be vamoosing.
Okay. So you see this as a, based on the events you're planning, you see this as a community event?
Oh, absolutely, yes. This is a community event. They want to become a visible part of the community again, and we're looking at something that would bring both Littleton and the Neshoba Indians together, and it looks like a really good way to do it.
How many Neshoba members do you anticipate coming?
Well,
I guess how many are in the area?
Well, the Neshoba tribe is very, very small, so there might be 20 to 30 Neshoba Indians extent. They are the last of the Massachusetts nation. You've heard of the Wampanoags, the Narragansett, the Nipmuc. Those are relatively large groups, but the Massachusetts, which were the biggest group here, are now down to basically one family. So we look at maybe 20, 25 of them, and they'll be natives from many other tribes there as well,
Yeah.
because when they'll be bringing in professional dancers and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So we might be looking at 30, 40 natives.
Okay.
There's a powwow that they do down in Natick yearly, which gets about 200 visitors, so we expect 200 people, if that's any rule.
Yeah. Okay. Typically, when people use Fay Park, the one thing we always ask is that they supply a porta potty or
Mhm.
multiple based on the number of people that you are going to have. I don't know if we need to figure that number out now, with it being so far in advance. Maybe
That's true.
you want to get a feel for, the response you're getting, and maybe
Right.
you don't have to come back in here, but speak to Tim and Alicia as it
Yeah.
gets closer. Say like April.
Yeah,
Think
that's
that'll be
good.
fine.
You should get a good judge by then.
Once and based on the numbers, we'll recommend how many porta potties.
Do we
you
have a
should-
recommendation on the ratio? Yeah.
I mean, what do we
worked that
typically
out with
say?
Rada, and typically it's 1 to 100, and we pay for the one that's in the park throughout the summer, which it'll already be there because
Yeah.
we'll have started the third Thursday series and stuff. So at that point, it's pretty much the same request that we made of the community fair, was to just pay for the pumping for
Yeah.
that month, which is $85.
Yeah.
So we'll have one there already for the summer,
Okay.
and so if you have 200, maybe you only need one more.
Mhm.
But what we would ask is that the one that's already on site is that you just pay for the flushing, or
Sure, sure.
we'll call it flushing. So yeah, sounds exciting.
Excellent,
it's
thank
gonna
you.
be
Yeah,
great.
this is a big deal. I mean, the Indians, this was a praying Indian town,
Yeah.
and they have not had a powwow here in over 300 years, so it's very, very exciting to see it happen.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So as it comes closer, we'll certainly
Yeah.
market the event for you.
thank you.
Talk to the other
Mhm.
people in town, and try to make it
Well,
as big of an
excellent.
event as we can.
I think it's an excellent idea, and I
Awesome.
appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Well,
So
thank
Mike,
you.
the only thing that I want to add to that is with the overnight, because we do a camp out in the park,
Mhm.
the insurance company does have a waiver that we set up for our camp
Right.
out, just for anybody who's actually staying over. So I think that it would be best practice to have them sign the same waiver.
Yeah, I agree.
That we use for our community camp out.
Okay, so he can probably take care of that at the same time as the
Yeah.
porta potty?
So what I'll do is I'll come we can either do it the day of or the day before, whenever there's going to be people there who can sign. If you want to just have a stack of them, collect them for me, give them over, whenever, that's perfect. Just as long as everybody who's in the park that night initials and signs that waiver, that's perfect.
Okay, great.
Excellent.
Do you
All right.
want a motion on this?
Yeah, I guess, so I'll entertain a motion to waive the fee.
All right, I make a motion to waive the fee for the Strawberry Moon Powwow at Fay Park, June 19th through June 20th, 2020.
Second that motion.
Okay, all those in favor of waiving the fee for the Strawberry Moon Powwow, June 19th through the 20th of 2020 at Fay Park, say aye.
Aye.
Excellent.
Okay, well,
All right,
thank
see you then.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
All
Do we
right.
need to get this signed, or
Yeah, you can hand that one back to me. I just didn't know if you needed any info on there.
do I need to take that with us, or is that
Nope,
that
we
yours?
keep this on
Okay.
file, and then you are all set.
Did you want
Thank
us
you
to
so
fax you
much.
a copy? We can do that.
We can do that, yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Mark Reinbacher is here from the Board of Library Trustees.
He went to the wrong location, too.
Yes.
Oh, man.
My side.
Sorry, guys.
No,
Yeah.
I just wasn't paying attention. It's a little closer for us to be here.
Is
Yes.
that the date permit
I drove
granted?
by it to get.
You
drove
get
by
it
it.
was today's date, yeah.
I could have picked you up on the way.
Sorry, Mark. All right,
So-
welcome.
Thank you. I was here to give you guys an update on the library project. We're hoping, in the library, Mass Board of Library Commissioners granted the library the grant. So we have a $5.8 million grant to build the library on the slope site. There'll be a warrant on the October town meeting for the town to fund the remainder of the bill.
Mhm.
The current estimate is 14.5 for the entire project. We have 5.8 from the state, and we're fundraising about $1 million. What I wanted to see if you guys had any concerns or anything we should need to be taking to the architect and fill you in on kind of what's going on or will be going on along the site. So the building itself, if you're driving in the parking lot, is almost directly behind the tennis courts. It's not at all behind the building, really. It's
Yeah.
strictly behind the tennis courts. There will be construction by the tennis courts eventually, and the tennis courts aren't going to be
Right.
modified. The parking, there will be more parking by the tennis
Right.
courts. The sloped hill by the tennis courts will probably be dug out and a retaining wall put in to put parking along there.
Mhm.
Other than the staging for the construction and things like that, and, I mean, we're working on we're going to go a CM at risk construction methodology, so we have a lot more control over the site and how it's being managed. PMBC is managing most of this. So, there are no other plans for any other pieces of, who's taking our space, what's going on with our space, restriping or doing any other parking additions. There's nothing like that planned currently. There maybe it needs to be planned as part of the space needs in general,
Mhm.
but it's outside of our purview. The other thing I'm advocating for, which is also not in our plan, is something needs to be done on that side of the entrance to the building in general, because if there's more traffic coming in there, that's not really a good two-way road right now, so something will have to be done, and the trees by the tennis courts there probably would need to come out and something like that, but that's not in any of our plans or anyone's plans at the moment. Oh, the other part is the road that goes back to the ball fields.
Yeah.
Will be upgraded to be.
A fire road?
A fire road.
Yeah.
So it will be, we've been talking to the chief on what they need to be able to basically take a fire truck back there. So, there will be also, so they can do that, there'll be a little turnaround basically at the junction of that road and the path
Mhm.
between Shattuck Street and the school. So that is within the scope of what we're planning. There's not, we'd like to put lighting on there, but that's outside of our budget and plans too, but, so.
Okay. So the issue with the parking, the road, the entrance, that's
That's something that in general needs to be solved, I think, but it's not part of what we're looking at specifically right now.
okay.
But that should be solved as part of the space needs in general for that building, however that building's going to be used.
Yeah.
Or that facility's gonna be used. Something
Okay.
has to happen there, but.
Yeah, so just my own concerns would be that, we try to keep the tennis courts as accessible as possible, and like, I know the construction itself isn't gonna impact it, but, the crews and staging and things like that,
Yep.
that they don't impede it, at all.
So my guess is that the other side of the tennis courts will have to be opened up, right? Because I think the only entrance to them now is on the side that will be on the construction, right? The other sides are locked. So the other doors will have to be unlocked probably, but I don't think it will
We have
be.
gates.
I don't think there, okay, yeah, there are.
There is a gate.
There is, yeah,
There is a
there's a
gate.
gate
There's a
on the
double
outside.
gate on the
Yeah.
town, right in front of town hall when you're pulling down the road.
But it's locked currently. You'd have to unlock that gate. but-
When do you see, if it passes, when do you see construction happening?
Construction will start sometime in the spring.
So that would impact the tennis season.
Well,
So, I don't know that it will impact I don't know what they'll be doing then, but we can definitely,
Right.
it'll definitely be.
Well, it's just those courts are used by,
Yeah,
the high school
Yes.
girls tennis team, so.
Yeah, so whatever that will be taken into account for the construction schedule, I'm sure.
so I think one thing, just so, we're looking at this on a broad thing, not only is this gonna impact the tennis court, but we have a baseball field back there. We run 3 major special events out of town hall parking lot in the duration of the year. Most of the days that it's walkable, kids walk to our RISE program now from the middle school. So what's the impact on the pathway walking up there? Because that's gonna, if they can't walk, then we're gonna have to provide van transportation, which is another staff member for the duration of this construction project. So there's a couple other things that we have to look at, that are gonna be impacted.
Walnut Creek, yeah.
So I assume, as typically is done, it's a certain area is gonna be fenced off,
Yes.
construction-wise.
Yeah, and I assume that area probably will change, as the project moves along. But, once we're further into, once it passes town meeting and we're on to more of the construction phase, we'll be sure to put you in touch with the CM at risk or the architect to mitigate some of those concerns. I'd be surprised if the path is accessible. The dirt path probably won't be accessible, but the actual paved path will probably be accessible most of the time, I would assume, but I really don't know. Um,
There's different ways they can cut through, so it just
Yeah.
depends on which parts were closed and which
Yeah.
weren't, so.
The library has the
Yeah.
same issues. People walk
Yeah.
up from the library too, so
Right.
we're gonna have to figure a lot of those same issues out, so.
One question that I had about the build, because you're gonna have to have like staging areas and anything like that. So the fence that's in between where the library site's gonna be and the baseball field, is there any plan on removing that or like kind of encroaching in that area at all?
On what fence do you mean?
So the Shattuck baseball field that's down there,
Yep.
that's gonna be next to the library, that's, I just wanted.
You mean the home run, the home run
Outfield
fence?
fence, yeah.
That fence,
I don't
yeah.
think, there hasn't been any talk of doing anything with
Okay.
that. I don't know, it's too early to tell probably, but
Okay,
the goal is to keep the footprint, the construction footprint as small as possible.
okay,
Right, so that we don't impact the parking for COA
Right.
or you guys or anyone else, so.
yeah,
But, there's gonna be times where it's larger than others, right?
right.
Next week, they'll be digging test pits
Yes,
out back on next Tuesday, I think. They're gonna do borings. And they're sometime, I'm not sure exactly when, but I believe sometime this month they're going to go out and survey. They're supposed to do a tree survey.
Okay.
So we'll know which trees are coming down. And I've asked them to put out rough stakes on where the corners of the buildings will be.
awesome, yeah.
I don't know exactly when any of that will happen, but hopefully sometime this month.
Okay.
But
A tip for you guys to know, and I don't know if you knew this or not, but that back area, so where the tennis court is and where that parking kind of goes off, for a long time, that was kind of like highway waste dump
Yes.
area. So be careful.
Our understanding is that it's more the grass slope
Yes.
is the waste area, not the slope site where we're
Yeah.
building on.
Okay.
So we're working, we don't want to disturb anything down
Right.
that path any more than we have to for fear of what we're going to find.
Right, yeah, so I'm just, when you're doing the.
There is a
boring
plan to
testing.
take care of, at least on our side of the lot, we're gonna try and take care of the knotweed.
Okay.
But I don't know what will happen like on the other side of the path and
Gotcha.
things like that, so.
Okay.
We've been working with Conservation Commission on, that's one of their big concerns.
Right.
So, because that path is barely walkable with the knotweed now. Well, maybe if you're
Yeah.
12.
It's just a challenge if you're older enough.
Yes, so.
I know it's early. Do you, like, where is the majority of the construction sort of traffic gonna come in? Is it gonna be on the school side? Is it gonna be on the?
I do not know that. We have control over that with the CM at risk, so we
Yeah.
can try and, set that up however we choose. I don't know what the answer is yet, but.
I think that's gonna be a tricky,
It's-
because the people on that side, that
It-
small street aren't gonna want construction vehicles, and the schools aren't gonna wanna
Yeah.
see construction vehicles going through the
Right.
parking lot, so.
It might also change based on the season, right?
Yeah.
When school's out, maybe they're coming from the school side and other times they're coming from the other, so I really don't know yet, but, I mean, we'll work with you guys, as construction approaches to figure out how best to utilize the site.
There are a lot of one-way streets, they can always change the direction, so, they can, I'm sure they can make it work.
The construction should hopefully start in the spring, and the estimate is it takes about a year.
Okay.
So,
One of the concerns I had when this started, because of things I heard, but then I thought I heard you correct it, was our department, we charge fees for our programs. Does that preclude us from using the library space to run programs?
So, no, it doesn't. So, you can use our space currently. So MBLC has no policy on how the meeting rooms are used whatsoever. They don't care, right? The policy is the library trustees have control of it. That's their only concern. The policy for the meeting rooms right now are that they can't be used for commercial purposes. So we generally don't allow people to charge fees. We allow town organizations to, Park and Rec Council on Aging, Conservation Trust, they can charge fees, they can sell things at our events. We allow that. The goal, the intent of the policy was to prevent, like, lawyers from coming in and using our meeting rooms as their meeting room, right? And leave them open to the community. If someone has a program that they want to run that they don't think falls under our policy, they're welcome to come to our meeting and ask for a waiver, just like Historical Society came and asked for a waiver for Fay Park. It's completely under the control of the Board of Trustees on that. I've been on the board 13 years and no one's ever come and asked for a waiver.
Yeah.
So, but they're welcome to come and do so.
Yeah, with a lot more meeting space that you will potentially have, I could see, if it's available and we're able to use it, I could see us, coming to you and
So-
seeing if we could work something
Yep.
out. My only concern was, not with you guys, the trustees, I think you're going to be more than willing to work with the community, I would imagine, but it's if you're tied to not allowing us in there because we charge a fee.
No, we're allowed to, it's entirely under our purview. We will have, I forget the exact seating capacity in the large room, it's around 100 or so. We have another room that's in the 30s. Both of those rooms are subdividable, and they will be available after hours. There's also an entrance, there will be an entrance to the library coming from the ball fields, basically, that side.
Okay.
It's unclear exactly the pathing or whatever to get there, but there is an entrance on that side. And I think there might be another meeting room or two available after hours too.
Okay.
So the intent is to be, as accommodating to all of the departments. And it will be set up for LCTV as well.
Right?
So the big room will be, so.
So how do you plan on, because it's going to be an influx of reservations and things like that, so what's the plan for you guys to be able to process all of that?
We haven't worked any of that out yet.
Okay.
We got 2 years to figure that out. But yes.
It's a big one.
There's also hope of, figuring out better key access and things to the building. Maybe it's, one-time tokens or things like that to get into the
Things like
buildings
that.
rather than keys, right? And you'll be able to come in the front door right from behind the tennis courts, go downstairs and use all the meeting rooms. Or there's paths to walk around to get to the lower floor. And there'll be a path basically. On the lower floor is the young adult and the children's area, and they could walk up from Russell Street in the middle school and basically come in the back entrance, so.
With a bigger building, do you envision your programming expanding?
We would like to, that's partially staffing and budget.
Yeah.
but,
And will you guys be committed to working with us to make sure we don't have overlapping
I
programming?
would love to work with you guys more. I don't know how much is going on with interactions now, but I think I would love to see more interactions between you and COA and us and coordinating, and not just coordinating programs and making sure there's no overlap, but like doing themes and
Right.
running them.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yes, I will commit, to trying to make that happen as much as I can.
Right.
So,
Okay.
we don't
And I
have
just
a-
want to make sure that we really are committing to that, because currently we're working with Council on Aging, but we've had no interaction with the library at all. So that's something that, as I think human services in general, so that includes the police and the fire, because they do programming as well, that we really should all be working together to create a schedule so that, we're not overlapping programming, right?
Yes.
Rather, like, I think one of the things that Sam and I talked about is, I think we did, it was Touch a Truck. Then that program ended, and then like 2 hours later, I think the library put on an event with the creature teachers.
Yeah.
And it's like, we all could have worked together, and then you could have had like all those kids that were there for Touch a Truck
Yeah.
to be there for
Yeah, I think,
Creature.
I think we need to do a much
Yeah.
better job, in our department and all the departments coordinating these things. And I don't know, if you and I figure out how to do it, or you and Sam figure out how to do it, but
Yeah.
something needs to happen to make these more
Yeah, if
successful.
there's an event
going
like
forward.
that, reach out, send me an email, copy them, and we
So-
can, I'll advocate on
At
behalf
the
of
moment, we're
working
a
together.
little busy and not
I
doing as much
understand.
programming.
I do. But we're always
So-
like 2 seasons ahead, so like,
Yeah.
we can, I know that's a lot to ask of other departments. We just have to be that way, with our programming and the way the cycles work, but, we're always willing to add things in, change things, move things if we have to.
Yeah. So one of the things that probably should come, the summer reading theme for next year has probably already been decided by,
Yeah.
it's a state theme, so they probably should start talking to you soon
Yeah.
about what that is and coordinate with some of that, so.
Okay, cool.
I'm sure they already have the multipurpose room reserved.
Probably. That's okay.
So,
So my last concern, probably my biggest, is how it's funded. If, and I know you guys are committed to funding it inside the levy, or you're at least committed to advocating for that. I know
Yes.
it's not in your control, really. As far as a advocate for Park and Rec, I would advocate, my hope is that it's done outside the levy so that we aren't sucking up the capital that we need for a lot of the items that we need to purchase year in, year out, sailboats. We have a vision for the bathhouse down there. A lot of those things, fields, a lot of those things we're not going to be able to accomplish those things for the next 5 to 7 years if it's funded inside the levy. So that's a major concern for me as a Park and Rec commissioner.
So actually, we met with there was a Selectmen FinCom meeting last night.
Yeah, I saw that.
And one of the interesting proposals out there is they can fund it there's 4 ways of funding it. There's inside the levy, outside the levy, splitting it, or there's an alternative that I never knew about until last night, that is funded inside the levy. When you need money inside the levy, when there's the capital crunch, you can take any project that you funded inside the levy and move it outside by just the same process as you would do for any outside. So if there is, they could take right now, the example I was given is they could move the high school out of the levy. It's got like another year or two to be paid off, but they could hold an override vote to move that out now, or any of these other projects. So if it's inside the levy, there's tougher choices, but there is also always the other choice that you can vote things outside. So it means everyone has to be more responsible on their spending, and then when it actually becomes a crunch, then everyone has to work together to advocate for the override.
Yeah.
As opposed to right now, we have to advocate for an override to help every other department not advocate for one, right? So I think the inside with the potential override later is a much better solution for the town, because then everyone has to work together, right? It's not pitting organizations against each other.
I mean, that's a solution for that, but the reality is that we do have these bigger projects. You've got the sewer that's coming up. We've heard about the potential of renovation for Shaker Lane Elementary, possible, COA, the space needs, like all of these things. It's just really scary to have this discussion when we talk about all these things, because, at this point this year, we didn't have the crunch of having a building like this be put on the budget. And we, as department heads, we were kind of pitted against each other. So there was a couple things that we asked for capital that we absolutely did not get. Because there were other things that took priority, and rightly so, and that's okay. But, when we think about the future of our capital and the way that, and it's not just our department, it's everybody's department, but since we're here at the park meeting tonight, when we've done capital in the past, we have been really cognizant about being financially responsible and taking a lot of things off of the block that we wanted to ask for. So we have like a long list of laundry list of things that we need or want to get done, whether they're in the town meeting, town master plan, or if they're in the open space and recreation plan. There's also the Massachusetts Parks and Open Space Plan. So there's all these different requirements that we're supposed to be meeting, and we have been pushing all of that off because we know those funds aren't there. So, that's the piece that it gets a little nerve-wracking, I think, for us as a department, because these are some big concerns that we need to fix.
So I agree with all of those concerns. Putting on my budget library hat,
Yeah.
I've been on the library board about 13 years. I think our total capital expenditures is probably about $70,000 that we've
Yeah.
asked for the town in that period of time. And 20,000 of that was for the grant.
Yeah.
So, because we've been very cognizant of everyone else's needs. I'm sure you guys have the same thing, but our operating budget we still don't have the hours restored from the last budget cut
Right.
8 years ago now. So we are cognizant of those things, and we're working as much as we can to control all of the costs we can,
Okay.
right? As far as putting on my town hat, right, I think the capital projects in general need to be vetted better between the departments than
Oh,
they
I
have in the
agree.
past. And then some of these concerns might go away. Maybe your sailboat is more important than the highway, dump truck this year, and there's trade-offs in there. I don't know what the answer is, I'm just giving two random examples, right?
Yeah.
But there's, the capital plan needs to be more cohesive across the groups than it has in the past. And I'm hoping that that comes to fruition, regardless of the library project. It's just a general problem.
Right.
Right, so, we've put off a lot of the capital investments, in like the carpeting in the library and things like that, because if we're thinking we're going to get, I mean, we've been thinking, you know, the past 5 years, we should get new carpeting, but if we're getting a new building, why would we invest in new
Yeah.
carpeting? Or new furniture, or things like that, so, we've been, you know, we've been cognizant of those needs, and for the building project, we're trying to keep the cost under control as much as possible. It has risen from the time we submitted the grant. It's not things that we've added. The only thing that was added is the fire road, right? The rest is just the cost of doing business now. So if you're looking for new buildings, you'll be shocked.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
Every year it gets more.
I watched the meeting last night, and that inside-outside proposal kind of intrigued me. I need to educate myself on how exactly that would work. If it's inside, if it's funded inside, and then we need money, how does the town need to take another vote? Do we need to?
Yes.
So is that 2/3 every time we
No.
need to pull money out of?
No,
You know,
so-
we need to pull it
so-
out of the levy.
So, all the borrowing projects in town have to have a 2/3 vote at town meeting,
Mhm.
regardless.
Right.
To do an override is a 50% at a ballot. So it changes the dynamics considerably now, because let's say that you wanted to build your boathouse, and it's gonna cost, you know, several $1 million. I don't know, I'll throw it out. It's $100 million for your boathouse, right? I know it's not.
Nowhere
but-
close.
Yeah, but now your job as Park and Rec is to advocate for the boathouse
Yep.
and to get people to buy into it. The selectman's job and the finance committee's job is to advocate for how it's paid for.
Right.
Right, so you're splitting the work, right, and you're getting more people involved in, you know,
Yeah,
pushing
no, I
the
understand that
project.
from your perspective.
So-
You guys are advocating. I think you guys have done a fantastic job.
So-
The amount of money you've
It's-
raised is outstanding. You know, I was involved with the alumni design, and I know how much work it is to design something, and what we designed isn't on the scale of what you guys are designing. So, you know, the fact, how much work you guys put into this project already is admirable. I appreciate that. I'm just really concerned how we fund it, and how a department like ours and all the other ones are able to function after the money is allocated to build it. And, you know, with the proposals last night, and like I said, I still need to educate myself and figure out which avenue I want to advocate for, but, you know, right now, I would say, I'm very leery of funding it inside the levy.
I understand that, and one of the problems with, right now is, for us, is if it goes outside the levy, we don't have time to educate people, right? We have less than a month to get in touch with everyone and tell them that, you know, the plan, which everyone thought in May was probably inside, is now outside. So it's very tough from our perspective.
But that decision hasn't been made. I mean, the decision was never made how it was going to be funded, so
No.
you're going to have to educate them anyways, regardless,
It was hinted at before that it could
by
be done inside.
one selectman.
It was hinted that it could be done inside, and now if
Yeah.
it's outside, then it's an educational task that's extremely difficult in an extremely tight timeframe.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but like I said, the inside now and outside later works. And, you know, you could take Alumni Field or the fire station or the school, the high school, any of these, move them out. And I think that might actually work out better for the taxpayer in general, because if you move like the fire station out, for example, it's gonna come off the tax roll sooner, right? So you're not voting a 20-year increase, 20-year override, you're voting a 10 or 15-year.
Yeah.
Right, so, and I think our finance department here is pretty sharp and can figure out what the best way to do that would be.
yeah, okay.
So,
Well, unless you guys have anything else? No? Yes? All right, well, thanks a lot for coming in, educating us.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Dave.
Good luck.
Next time we'll find the right spot.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, discussion on credit card fees for the PRC registration software.
Yes, sir.
Thought we had decided on that.
We did. We're coming back to it again. So yes, you are correct. We did make a decision on that on February 19th, 2019. And so we had two options at that time. So if you flip through, there's an email from Government Portal in your package that talks about the split, not split.
So at the time, we were pushing for the not split option. And essentially what that meant is that we would pay a little bit per month. Sorry, I'm like, Mike's been looking at me, I'm looking down the line here.
I'm sorry, I don't have my reading glasses. This is way too small for me.
Okay, so I will talk directly to you.
Okay.
So the so the not split option was that we would pay a little bit each time we did an Eastern bank statement. So and on average, it's anywhere between like, I don't know, $3 to like $15 for the option for us to be able to use the stored credit card information on our registration software. So at the time, that sounded excellent, fantastic, and we wanted that option. However, it's still not really an option with the system that we have. They don't have it up and running yet. And the financial paper, the financial accounting to figure out what that small little amount is astronomical. I think while I was out on medical leave, Tim said that he would never do it again. It's pretty painful.
So, yeah, it's.
We're paying?
So
A little
to
amount.
sum it up, right now, the entire fee is 2.93%. So the cost that is absorbed is 2.9%. So that 0.03% is what we're chasing every single week.
Yeah.
And that can take 3 to 6 hours to find on an Excel sheet that was created by Steve Venuti. And then you have to go back through an entire week's worth of stuff. So, April's a great example. When we had a couple weeks we signed up for camp that we had $300,000 in 1 week. To chase that down and to find that 0.03%
Yeah.
to make us balance is a nightmare.
Yeah.
We just to kind of give you an idea of what this lets us do, this whole saving thing, it's EFT, so electronic funds transmission. So if you have your kid in a program and every single month we charge you $18, you don't have to think about it. You just give us our credit card and we do that. Currently, we have no people doing it. Like Alicia said, the system is supposed to be able to do it, but they haven't been able to activate it yet. So for us, this is just a time suck. This is taking anywhere from 3 to, on the one when I was chasing down like $13 that I couldn't find, I spent almost 10 hours looking for it, worth of time going back and forth between the systems. So it's just, it's kind of one of those things. We go to the new system, which is not being able to store credit cards. You just have to call us every time you want to do it. It goes back to being 15 minutes worth of work for us.
Right. So we were trying to make there be an option that would be easier for the end user, but at the end of the day, we haven't had anyone really ask for that option. And it's just, again, the amount of time, for just like there being a little bit of a difference, and that could be like a refund that maybe was processed wrong. Then you have to go back through and check everything, and it can be hours worth of process. So what I'm suggesting is that we make the other choice and go to the split option, which means that the authorized.net would just take that 2.9%, put it in like a holding on the side, and then they would just take that out monthly. So then ours is just 100% like a process. There's no us having to do calculations to try to figure out what that minimal amount, that 0.03%
What's
is.
the negative side? That sounds like the way to go.
Yeah, I'm wondering what the con was in that when we originally decided to go not split.
We didn't understand how arduous of a process it was.
Well, but that couldn't have been the reason why we.
But you want to be able to have the option of doing recurring payments, is that?
Correct.
That was
That
the
is correct.
pro-
So that was
pro
the-
of
was
it.
the upside.
That was the up of why we
In-
wanted to do it.
In both cases, the end user's absorbing the fee, correct?
Correct.
So $100, they're paying $102.90
Yep.
or something like that.
Mhm.
So that convenience of reoccurring
So right now,
is not going to occur. Like that's all
Correct.
we're losing.
Yeah, so currently,
But nobody's
it's
asking for it anymore.
not,
Right.
they're working on it, but it's still not an option yet. Like I said, there really would be one program, the after-school program for RISE, that it would make sense for us to have that reoccurring payment, because people will pay for September, October, November. And so it would make it easier for them. But honestly, they've not asked for it. everything has kind of worked well the way that it is. So I think at this point in time, to save, us some time from doing that accounting piece and making it just a simple, easy peasy process that.
I mean, you can always revisit it when the software gets updated, right?
Absolutely, we could revisit it. Yep, like we're revisiting it now. Yeah.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion if anyone wants to make one.
What's the motion to switch to
To go to the split.
split?
Mhm.
Yep.
Unless you have something.
I can't read this, so maybe it's best that somebody else.
I can't either.
Sit on to us.
I'll see if I can do it. I make a
I mean, I can
motion
read it, but I
to
can't.
change the MyRec.
That's the same size.
So I'm not the only one.
There you go.
I can see it. Gonna make a motion for the department to change the credit card fee processing to a split option.
Don't say that one.
I second.
All those in favor of going with the split option for credit card payments, say aye.
Aye.
That's what I was gonna say. He's hitting me today.
Thanks, guys.
Are you guys here for a particular issue?
I want to hear the lake stuff at the end of the.
Okay. Well,
I have a-
I'm only asking because I'd be happy to move that up for you if.
Sure, yeah, I mean, I have a couple of questions around
Okay.
things that I'd like.
Tim, are you ready to
Yeah,
discuss
absolutely.
that? All right, so
So-
let's move item 8 up to accommodate our guests.
All right, so just to be clear, to start off with this, this is kind of just high level. We're gonna go over some stuff. I'll give you the general numbers. We did just run our last payroll yesterday, and I still am compiling some of the other details as far as what we got. So these are ballpark numbers. Some of them are, as far as users and stuff, they're actual numbers, but the end totals are just kind of relative for right now.
And our plan, correct me if I'm wrong, our plan is still to hold a public meeting forum to discuss the beach, specifically the beach, at the end of the season, the numbers, the data, in order to craft our policy for next season if we need to
Right,
make
for
changes.
October.
Yeah,
we're gonna put that into the October meeting, so we'll give the full data, I mean, with everything kind of put together.
Yep.
And then we'll also do the recommendations for next season, which based off of this year, to be a little preemptive, I don't foresee a need to change any of the fee structures or anything that we have now.
Okay.
So really it'd just be pushing forward with what we have, with what we've done this year. And, you guys can make an educated decision. Basically, I just wanted to give you some of this information to kind of think about. I'm going to give you some information in the next couple weeks to look over for October. Also going to make the proposal for what next year should look like to take to our October meeting to put to a vote. And then that way, not only can we get public input in October, but we'll also be able to then make our spring, summer brochure printing, which in the past, because of the time
Right.
frame that we did it, we were unable to do that.
Okay.
So that's what we're looking at doing.
great.
So to give you guys an idea of where we're at, so 2019, we sold a total of 758 registrations, which is a little under 100 memberships under what we did last year. So the membership total was $37,956 revenue to the lake. With that said, family passes, a lot of the calculations that we had gone off of at the time of last year, we had only had family and senior passes. So we did see a little decrease as far as we kind of were flat with last year in our overall total revenue, because we did sell the individual and the couple pass, which we added in the 11th hour kind of thing. It was a great idea. We did get some users for it, and they were very grateful that we did that. So total numbers that we ran into was we had 399 individual family passes that serviced a total of 1,619 individuals. Our individual membership was 38 members. Our couples membership was 4792 is the total on that one. Our senior membership, we had 148 individual senior memberships, which serviced a total of 232 members. We sold 117 additional parking stickers. So that was if you had a second car in your family and wanted to sell. And then we sold 8 third parking stickers for families that had 3 cars. Those were more so families that had babysitters in the family, nannies and stuff like that. So that was something that we had. So in total, as far as total memberships this year, individuals were 2,436 people. We had 761 total registrations for the annual membership. When it comes down to, the full numbers that we were looking at for the entire year, we were at just over $108,000 revenue that was brought into Long Lake Beach. High level stuff for the programming that we did about $2,500 worth of programming in our junior guard. Long Lake Community Sailing Program brought in $27,652. Our swim lessons brought in just under 10 grand worth of revenue. Our non-resident day pass was $2,405. Our non-resident parking pass brought an additional $3,000 in. Our resident day pass, $616, and our resident parking pass, $705, as far as stuff that we were bringing in. Other pieces that we had, sorry, I'm just pulling up this next screen.
Tim?
Yes.
Is it possible that we can have, sort of a written?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. You're gonna get all that next month when I get a chance to break all of this out.
And in addition, if you could have last year's, just so that we can, sort of compare. Because I'm sure, any adjustment you want to make, you want to say, well, what worked and what didn't work, between year to year, right?
Yep. Yeah, so as far as our, hang on one second, as far as our non-resident day passes, these are our, come to beach, pay to park, and get your, so we had 843 individual uses on that. And our resident day pass, let me just scroll down to here, we had 238 individual uses on that. We ran about $80,000 worth of payroll, then we ran right around $15,000 worth of equipment and budgeting for things like Snack Shack, toilet paper, all that stuff we do. So we're going to be give or take right around that $10,000 mark. As you remember from last year, we were right at $9,700. So we're going to be very flat to where we were last year in this year's numbers.
Okay.
And the 80,000 in payroll is specifically just July and August. So our fiscal year runs oddly from July 1st through, June 30th. So
Right. So,
So when do you?
so we have to
When do you start-
project as of what June would be.
So how many?
2020.
Like 2 weeks in June, or the whole month of June? We're paying people for the beach.
Well, for the beach, we open in.
So I believe that, and that's why
Weekends,
that's why I
May.
said it's kind of like we got to go back and look, because we did have a couple weeks we closed for weather in
Yeah.
June.
Mhm.
So I think it was right. I think we were open 2 weekends in June, and it's a skeleton crew. It's just lifeguards and snacks.
So not huge, not huge payroll,
not
but
huge
still
numbers.
No,
some.
but it's something that we still have to consider when we're doing the budget.
Right. No, I was just trying to figure out because if we're 10,000 in the black because of July and August, perhaps that's not actually, because if we then use that for the next June,
Right.
Right.
that may not be.
And that's what I'm saying. Like when
Yeah.
we, high level, what I can actually see that we have in black and white right now, that's what it is. When I go back and kind of process out what the rest of that was, which is the actual numbers that I'll pull from, we can do it with what we actually used this year.
Mhm.
The reality of the situation is, unfortunately, it's going to hit next June, and depending on what we decide next June is what's going to affect this. So that's going to be a little askew.
Right. Okay.
But I will use this year's estimations on, actuals to figure out what the estimated stuff was.
Okay. Unless you guys have questions specifically on that, talk a little bit about the renovations and.
Do you want to answer questions first, or you want me to answer?
No, let's go through your presentation, and then we'll take, because there may be questions on renovations as well.
All right, so completed renovation items. So far, we have completed the LED lighting upgrade in the bathhouse, so that is 100% done. And as far as, we did get a chance to paint the exterior of the bathhouse building, so that piece is done. We have not moved forward with anything else as of this point, for various reasons. Number one, we came, upon the CPC funding July 1st, which is right in the heat of where, hot of our summer, where we got all of our programming and everything else going on. So, the need for some equipment and everything else, to take down there and actually do, it just wasn't the perfect timing, especially with Alicia being out and, you know, my time being a little more used up in other spaces than it normally is. The other look was, you know, to look at being able to do things in a way that was maximize the potential for the funding that we got. So just last week I had a meeting with Steve from Highway and have spoken to Chris Stoddard. So we are actually they're going to do the site work for us for the new concession stand. They're going to use some of the millings that they have coming off one of their projects and make the pad and everything else for us. So that's going to be a considerable savings there. As far as, you know, ripping out that brick wall in front of the playground, it's a little more intensive than what, you know, it was originally expected to be. Another thing is, you know, it's going to be getting that playground closed up for a couple days to remove it and put it back in and do that the right way. And then as far as the fencing goes, it just was, we just didn't have the manpower to be able to drill the holes and everything. We do have the supplies in stock. We have the rope. The poles are something that I'm going to order through Littleton Lumber. So that'll just be something that we push off until the spring. Really the decision was made on my part is, you know, do we want to install this in October, November, have it sit out and just get rocked all winter?
Yeah.
You know, be a hazard for snowplow drivers and, you know, people who haven't seen, you know, where these new obstacles are, and then come back in the spring just to replace brand new stuff. So, you know, we looked at it and we said, we'll get some manpower in early. You know, we have a lot of college kids who come back in April, May who are really, you know, rearing to go. They got nothing else going on. We can budget for some extra payroll to do some of those projects and get it done, you know, to put new mulch out there and plants and things that we talked about to fix the front of the parking lot and do all of that kind of stuff as well. It just didn't make sense to sit it out there and then just let it get eaten away by the winter time. So
Okay.
we'll do it right, we'll plan it out. As soon as the snow thaws, we'll start hitting it. Chris is going to put the pad in probably mid-October. We'll order the shed for delivery first thing in the spring as soon as the ground is thawed. O'Grady has given us the quote for all the electric transfers and everything else. So everything is lined up, set up, ready to go. It's just a matter of we just got to pull the trigger when we're ready.
Okay, I think that's a good decision to wait. All right.
And then the dock did go in as well, which was awesome for the sailing program.
Yeah.
The sailboats, you know, it worked exactly as we thought it was going to be, getting the sailboats out of the water. We did see a decrease in the damage on the sailboats. We did have a couple sailboats that got damaged this year, pulling them up onto the boat ramp and everything else. As soon as we put the dock in, we didn't see any more issues with holes in the hull and things of that nature. We did have a couple issues and some input from the Flannerys, Molly and Tim, who are next, Tim Ahern and Molly Flannery, who are immediate abutters to the boat ramp, about the size of the dock and how it seemed a little intrusive that so the fishermen were going out there and being able to kind of look backwards towards their house. So all things that I did speak to Molly and Tim and say that we would take into consideration for next year and we would look at it. You know, when we got an opportunity to discuss it at our October meeting on some of the things that we had had as far as issues were concerned. So that is one thing that was brought to my attention towards the end of the summer that I did receive a couple emails about. So just in due diligence to pass that along. Molly and Tim, we do take it under consideration. We're gonna, you know, definitely we'll have a conversation about it.
And
Yeah.
that hopefully should change, because part of working with conservation is we're gonna put in those fishing docks as well. That was something else that we wanted to get to this summer, but then again, because I've been out and, you know, other reasons, they just weren't able to get there or get that in this
Okay.
summer, so.
Well, if you guys
I
can
think
come to the
they'll change.
October meeting with some possible changes that we can make to that
Yep.
dock to address their concerns, that would be helpful.
Yeah, and that's the great part about that dock, and the reason that we went with that system is it's completely modular.
Yep.
So, you know, we can look at it and figure out, you know, is it just a matter of taking 6 or 8 blocks and twisting them a little bit to make the dock out a little further and more straight, or, you know, we can definitely come up with a solution that I think will rectify what was going on.
Okay. Any questions from you guys, Mike?
So I have.
Can you just, for our friends
Ivy
in the...
Rita Gardner,
Thank you.
Maple Hills Road. I have a couple of questions and comments along the way. Mike, I wanted to address what you said about getting the data from last year to this year. I had submitted a request over the summer about data from last year, and it was my understanding that all those splits and whatnot couldn't be parsed out because of the changing to the MyRec system. So I'm not sure you're gonna have that data to compare. That's just, maybe you can dig it up, I don't know. I would be interested in knowing too, I love the numbers there, but just knowing more about what's the split on the resident, non-resident passes, and this would be cool for October, but just in swimming, sailing, rentals, beach passes, like if we're aiming for 80% of the, we want, the Park and Rec is, saying they want 80% of town residents participating in stuff. I'm wondering what the splits are at the lake. That was one just question I have. That's something I'm interested in seeing. Another thing I'd be really interested in seeing was, is at the end of this season, before decisions are made for next year, some sort of survey of the lake, of the community as a whole through SurveyMonkey or whatnot, to say like, what do we want to see happen? How do we want to see this used, and how can we make this better for everyone? There are a couple of things that happened at the lake this year that I'm curious about, like that people brought to my attention. I was like, oh, that's weird, and I was wondering if I could get some quick clarification on. First and foremost, I'd always assumed going down the lake that the footage that's taken, because there are cameras everywhere, went to the police station, and it was brought to my attention that it's not, and I'm curious to know why. And then, of course, this is all hearsay, but that's why I'm asking people up here. I was told that the cameras could zoom in on the face on a dollar bill. And as a woman with a daughter who may be down there in a bathing suit, I have major concerns about that if it's not being manned by the police. Just like, who hacks that? Like, how do we know that's safe? That's our kids.
Do you want us to address that now? Do you have,
Yeah,
sometimes you don't want to be
well, I mean,
interrupted.
I had always, and you should never assume I know, I saw the cameras and I have just kind of always assumed it went to LPD.
So the cameras, and Tim can elaborate, but the cameras are down there for security reasons.
Sure, I can appreciate that. There's
Yep.
a lot of expensive equipment.
Yeah, so, I mean, as far as I know, that's what they're there for.
Right,
They're-
but
I
do
mean-
the,
So all the cameras in town go to a server. There's not actually they can be pulled up on computers. Nancy, who is our IT professional,
Okay.
is the one who grants access to view certain cameras in certain areas. So,
Okay.
obviously the police have access to certain cameras. The school department has access to their cameras. We have access to our cameras.
Okay.
So, to be perfectly frank with you, up until a couple weeks ago, my desktop and Nancy's desktop were the only places that you could physically sit down and view those, where you had to get on, sign in, and do it. Unfortunately, with Verizon this year, we got this surprise $5,000 bill, and what it was every single time that camera was downloading to the server, because it had remote access, that data was what we were getting hit with. So when that problem was found in May, we just made the decision so that we didn't have any issues and we weren't getting these charges anymore, that the only place you can actually view those cameras is by physically plugging in down at the beach now. So you need to have a monitor, you need to have a password. It's a pretty arduous process. I think the last time Nancy went to do something to download some footage for the police,
Yeah.
it took us almost 2 weeks just to be able to kind of get into the system. So as far as from a security issue, Nancy could speak more to that, but I can tell you from personal experience in trying to get stuff as recently as a couple weeks ago for Jeff, that it's pretty hard to do.
Debbie,
Yeah.
Tim, are the cameras fixed? Can people remotely move the cameras where they're pointed and zoom in?
Like I said, the only people who could do that prior to us taking them offline were Nancy and I from our desktop computers.
Okay.
The cameras are fixed. We have 100% coverage at the beach now with the addition of the new camera that's up on the pole, the one that you were referring to. That is very powerful.
oh, I didn't know which one I was.
It's up on the pole of the bathhouse. That one can spin 360 degrees. It's
someone-
top technology. And that was something that was put in that in the event that we did have something going on, or if something suspicious was happening, that we could go on and we can look and we can zoom in. Because the unfortunate piece is, up until that was installed, we did have a couple instances where we had suspicious persons during hours and a couple after hours that were there, and the footage that we were getting, because they were such antiquated cameras, were so blurry we couldn't see it. We were also unable to identify license plates and things of that nature. So a couple investigations that we've had in the past 3 years, we weren't actually able to get any footage from because of the blurriness, the lack of definition that the cameras provided. So that's kind of the long and the short of what we have. But now we do have 100% coverage of the
And
park.
it can only be viewed in that one spot.
Correct. So to my knowledge, the footage is actually only available for a month right now because we actually ran into that problem. It took us so long to get into the system last time that we lost some of the footage that we were looking for because the new footage had started to record over it with the size of the server that's actually down there.
Okay, and this year at the lake, I assume that we're staying with the idea that people can be at the playground and that people can walk through the beach without being asked for a pass?
We decided on the playground for sure. That was part of our policy.
That was part of it.
Walking through the beach, that, I guess, I don't know if we ever made a decision on that particularly,
We
but
did.
that could be,
We did.
I could see there being a gray area there where, you know, I don't know, you're more than welcome to walk through the beach, but, yeah, I'm not sure, are you getting at something? Or-
I just want to make sure, it's a clarifying point.
Yeah, if you want to walk through the beach, you can walk through the beach.
And we have plenty of people who walk across the new mat and through the parking lot and onto Meadowbrook Drive. And
Is that mat coming up for the winter? Just out of
Sorry?
curiosity, is that mat coming up for the winter?
yeah, we'll be pulling them up.
I was just a point of curiosity.
Probably mid-October, we'll pull those up as well as the dock section that's left. It'll be, we're gonna put some skids on the boat ramp, and when we lock the boat ramp permanently, that'll be pulled out of the water straight up onto that, just for ease of putting it back in next year.
Okay.
Yep.
And I think those were my major questions for now. I look forward to just seeing a survey of sorts. That would be awesome. I think a lot of people.
So I don't know if we're going to do a survey. I think we're having a public forum, and everyone is welcome to come and share their views then. I don't have a lot of confidence in surveys. They can be manipulated and then you know, the decisions we make then are kind of thrown in the face of the results of surveys like that. So I think we're opening it up to the community. We're having a public forum. We're going to blast it out everywhere. We'll ask the selectmen to make sure that they get it out. It'll be on the town website, our website, everywhere. We hope that a lot of people show up. I wouldn't want to put out a survey and have the concentrated, have it concentrated on the residents of the beach because they're passionate about the topic, and then the rest of the town, who also cares but doesn't care as much, doesn't weigh in, and then the views are skewed, and then our feet are put to the fire to ensure that we follow through with the results of the survey. We're elected to make these decisions, and we're inviting the public to come to a meeting and share their views and how they feel about how things are run down there, and we'll certainly listen. And that's the process that we committed to earlier this year, and that's a process I think we're going to move forward with.
Okay, well, to note, the Park and Rec has in the past put out surveys about programs they've run for other programs.
Yep.
And you've surveyed the public about programs you've put out there before to see how people felt about them. It seems counterintuitive that you would put them out for these programs, but you wouldn't put them out for programs that you run at the lake.
So to be
Just
very
to-
specific about that, those are surveys that go out to people that have been in our programs to get feedback on the program themselves.
Right.
So to answer this question, yes, we do send out a survey to everyone who participated in sailing or swim lessons, but no, we
Or
do
about
not.
passes.
What's that?
Or about passes.
So I have not done a pass one in the past.
Okay.
And
It might be worthwhile.
I can definitely, take that under consideration.
Okay.
But the issue then runs into that it's all data that can be construed as skewed because I'm only asking people who bought passes, and people who bought passes are not people who live in the neighborhood, as you're suggesting, is people who.
Well, I'm talking, when I say I guess, so let me correct what I'm saying. When I say neighborhood, I mean the town.
Yep.
Because there are 10,000 people, like the town is one neighborhood. It's not like it's one neighborhood in Boston, but it's like, it's not that big of a town. Like I'm saying a town-wide survey, I guess that was my point. And I understand your point that people who don't care about the lake won't answer it. Much like Alumni Field, though, people who don't care about Alumni Field wouldn't answer the survey about that. But that doesn't make the value moot because certain people that don't care don't answer.
Are you asking about a survey about policy or about program?
About policy and programs, yeah.
I think that, when you're asking about a program, I think it's very easy to sort of quantitate sort of programming issues. But when you're asking about a survey for policy, I don't know that you'll get good data or good input because, policy, you do usually have a discussion and a vote and a back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas program, you can say, on a scale of 1 to 10, I didn't like the sailing program, or I did like the sailing program.
Sure.
But for policy, I think it's a much more tricky, and I think that it's a much more tricky situation. And I think in order to get good data out of a survey about policy, it has to be very particularly worded to get the information you're looking for. And I think that
Right,
with
like
SurveyMonkey and things
lake
like that, it's
hours.
not
So,
an accurate tool.
since this was before Kevin's time, I think a perfect example is the very first Survey Planet thing that I ever put out there. And most of the suggestions, most of the information that we went forth with the bathhouse, the hours, pretty much everything that we've gotten to now came from that initial survey that was taken back in the end of the summer of 2017. And the reality of that is we asked all of those questions. And I would be more than happy to provide you with a copy of not only the survey, but the infographics that I have that I used for these gentlemen and the gentlemen that were their predecessors to start making some of these decisions. And the reality is what that survey asked for was exactly what we've driven for the past 2 years to achieve. And we followed that to the letter of law as far as what was requested, what were the needs, what time do you want to see us open. I even went down to ask anything, and Mike and I went back and forth. You'll remember this survey to the point that Mike really wanted more showers, and I told Mike, well, that's not something that we needed. We went back and forth about that for like 20 minutes at one of the meetings. But the reality of the situation is I can do as many surveys as anybody wants to do, but we took data from a survey that we took a lot of time and thought to put into. We spoke to other rec departments and asked them how they had worded questions, rec departments who had just built new bathhouses, new facilities, and got this data. And then we've been where we are for the end of the past 2 years of, we don't really want that or this. So one of the things, not to put the cart in front of the horse, I just returned from Chicago from going to a recreation school. And, Alicia and I have been talking, and one of the things that we would like to do, unfortunately there's a cost associated with it, is I sat through a very interesting seminar on something that's called a statistically valid survey. There are currently 3 companies in the country who are doing these. It takes it completely out of the hands of us, it takes it completely out of the hands of Littleton, it takes it completely out of everything. And basically what they do is they send these surveys in the mail to a population that they select, and then they call you on the phone a couple days later if they haven't received it back, and they say, hey, Mr. Prue, we sent you something in the mail. I don't know if you saw it, but if you want, you can take 10 minutes and answer all my questions now. And they go until they get whatever sample of the population that they feel is exactly what their matrix, what their information says that they need. And it sends back all the data on exactly everything that your town is requesting, that your town is deficient in, that your town has extras, and the moral of the story is, one of the gentlemen who was presenting was the director for Virginia Beach, where, he had people coming to meetings and they were about to build over 200 brand new pickleball courts. And they did their statistical valid survey that they've been doing every 2 years for the past 10 years. And less than 1% of the population actually wanted pickleball courts. And they were about to spend that money based on the people who had been showing up to the meetings. So if we can find a way to do this survey, it is
What's
Probably the
company?
only survey that I will put water, that I think, holds water.
Yep.
Company?
There's 3 of them, and I don't have them right off the top of my head. I do have them in my notes.
It would have to go through a bidding process.
I would have
for
to
us
bid them
do
out.
that.
But there is one that's head over heels above the competition based off of the information I received and speaking to about 10 different communities have used them to this point. You can Google them, statistically valid surveys, look it up, and it's some fascinating information. I think, if we are going to do a survey moving forward, especially if we're going to come into the budget crunch that we're looking at, or, if we're having issues coming up with capital funds, doing fields, things like that, before we invest any more money, it's our due diligence to invest the $15,000 to $20,000 that it would cost to do this survey, to tell us, what is it that people actually want? Do they want things upgraded at the beach? Do they want trails fixed? Do they want better parks? Do they need more parking? And I think if we go down that road, that's going to be something that will really empower and actually do a lot of good for us.
I'm sorry, can I ask one last question? Thank you, Mike. When you are going to do the session for people the public forum, thank you. Are you doing that in December when you make the decision again, or are you going to try to push it off till another month?
Right, the intention is to do it next month.
We moved it to October, based off of public feedback.
So the October meeting is going to be when there is the
A public input.
public input. Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, thanks for coming.
Thank you, Ellie.
Oh,
So
my
one thing,
pleasure.
since this was 2 years ago that we did.
No, they're
the survey,
researching it for
Why
me.
not send it out again?
Because we are looking into doing the survey specifically, because when we do this, it takes, we have nothing to do with it, right? So that's always one of the kickbacks that comes back of well, the numbers are skewed because you created the questions. So in this case, it has nothing to do with us. These people that have never met us, have never been in the community.
I just
are
don't know,
asking.
with those surveys, I just don't know if you're gonna hit the sample that you really truly.
But that's,
Why?
the survey we put out
That's
was
their job.
Oh, I know
specifically
it's
geared
your job.
around the bathhouse,
So,
right?
The lake property as a whole,
Right.
there were questions about the playground, there were.
But that was
questions
one we were contemplating.
The bathhouse
doing the
project.
so
Correct.
these are polling companies that call, I'll tell you, I don't have my phone on a lot of times because,
So then if you don't answer them in their time frame that they're trying to get done, you get skipped over. They go find another 40.
They'll go find somebody,
They go
maybe
find
some-
another 40-something male with a daughter. No, that's how.
40-something.
But that's how it's set up. They take a piece of the puzzle and they find that grouping of people that we have to have X number of answers from.
I just don't know, I still don't know if you're gonna get,
I don't think, I don't think we need a survey. I think we're inviting everyone to come.
Right.
We've notified them, they've known since June, we're gonna hold it in October. We're gonna blast it out, let's do it soon, in the next week or so. Once you guys know you're gonna have the data, I hope we don't have to push it off to November, but if we do, then we need to know that soon.
Right.
We'll be ready.
We'll be fine in October, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't do that. What the point that we're bringing this up is, the survey's not based off of just the beach alone.
No, I
In
understand.
general, we have to come
That's
up
fine.
with a
I think it's
strategic plan.
Whether or not I'd be in favor of spending $15,000 to survey the community is, I'd make that decision down the road, but
We
I
already
understand
did
this.
$49,000 for the fields.
Huh?
We did $49,000 for the field study.
Well, that was a study on the
This
fields.
is pretty much a study as well,
Well, it's
a study of the community.
okay.
It's worth it.
Okay.
Neither
well,
here nor there.
That's fine. Right.
I understand
Exactly.
the point that you're saying about the public forum
That
next
study
month.
would be much more valid than a survey monkey. I have no faith in survey monkeys. They're
Yeah,
manipulated.
I hear ya.
I remember when the library started their project that they put out a survey monkeys survey, and it was manipulated to no end to the point where they had to go into the selectmen and say we had to comb out IP addresses because we had 30 surveys submitted from the same IP address that were just looking to tank the survey. So, there's that element in it. And, we're inviting people to come to our meeting. If they, if they can't come, they can't come. They can send us letters, they can send us emails. They can use other people as proxies to let us know, that's the government that we have, and that's what we're elected to do. And
I agree.
I don't think an internet survey is going to do anything except be used as a tool to put our feet to the fire when the decisions we make don't correlate to the results of the survey.
How did we disseminate the last survey that we did? How was that?
What? I'm sorry, I don't understand.
The survey, the one 2 years ago, how was that?
Where are the results of that survey?
Well, no, how was
Is
it
that what you're
taken? Was it?
How was it
It
taken?
wasn't Survey Monkey.
It was Survey Planet.
So Survey
was,
Planet, and the nice thing about Survey Planet, the reason that we switched to that platform is we have total control and we block anybody from being able to take it. So the algorithm in there, it looks at your IP address, it looks at your name, it looks at many other different features. So you can't take the survey more than once. It's physically impossible. If you try to sign on your computer and do it again, it says that it's not available for you.
There we go.
Yeah, so.
So why not send that out there
Even if we
again?
even if we
But
could
we
do
did- 2 years.
even if we could do that,
We did it.
what we're not going to get a cross section of a community. We're going to get
Right.
a 90% concentration down at the lake and scattered throughout the town when it's you know a lot of the policies that we or a lot of the decisions we make around the policies around the lake are taken from talking to the whole community.
Well, see, that's what I'm not advocating. I'm saying, why don't we send it like we do all our other programs, send it to the people who take part. in
But
the
that's
program.
what I'm trying to say. We did that. We not only did that,
That was 2 years
where we
ago. I'm
specifically
wondering.
targeted everybody who had utilized the beach in some way through our old programming and our,
Yeah.
but there were also flyers up everywhere, and then that small percent felt like their voice wasn't heard, and then, you know, you've been a park commissioner for the past 2 years in October, November, December, January, February, when we've had all this data that said one thing, so we did this thing, and then all of a sudden, it's not what the population wanted, you know?
Mm.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, did we not have 7
And
additional
if we
meetings
did
this year?
and if we did that, what do you think they're going to say about the price of the park pass? Good? Bring it down? You know, I would venture to guess they're going to ask us to bring it down. And then when we say, no, we're going to keep it the same because we're breaking even right where we want to be, it's going to be like, well, you guys don't listen to us.
Well,
When the reality
you have
is
to-
the
you have to
people
break
that don't use the beach don't want the town paying to upkeep the beach.
Oh, I
You know,
know.
that's the reason why we made the
well, that's,
decision.
I know, but that's the reason why I'm saying, and I agree with you, you gotta be able to run and cover the fees for your program. So, yeah, pay it. I'd like to pay 90% less if I could, but the reality is you can't.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, I'm wondering if there's any value, because we have changed things. You know, maybe now that we've changed things, we've offered more programming, maybe they can come back, because there's a lot that's happened in 2 years. I wonder if having a same survey that goes out after all the changes we've done in 2 years.
So, I don't know if this will help you. This is something that kind of helps me, okay? In the first year, when the prices were rock bottom, when we took them over, okay? That summer, we had made about $16,000 in passes, all right? That covered about a third of the cost. The programming made up 2/3 of what it cost to operate the beach, okay? Last summer, we upped the prices. We made right around the same numbers this year, $37,000. So we're now closer to half the cost, where sailing and everything else is not only supporting itself, but it's still supporting the cost of the pass. Then we have this year, we're right around $37,000. So we're a little bit under half the cost of what it costs to pay for the lifeguards at the beach, which is the spirit of this. So no matter what price level we've been at, we've never been able to achieve 100% satisfaction of covering the cost to operate the beach, specifically the payroll for the lifeguards. The supplemental of that is the sailing program, is the swimming, is everything else. So in 3 years, if you look at, you know, we've really done things level when it came to that. The only change that we did was A, raising the price over 3 years, and B, this year we added a different category, which I think affected our number a little bit. That to me is just kind of, it speaks volumes. You know, we were at a third, and this year we were, you know, a little less than half. So, and last year we were a little less than half. So
you're speaking about cost, which that's one component, but I'm talking about some of the other, you know, things like, do they, you know, are they satisfied with the programming we have? Are they satisfied with the hours? Would they be willing to have less hours? You know, start later, start earlier? I think that was part of the survey, right? So I'm just wondering, you know, having that information again. You know, certainly, I think we extended it, right?
But I mean, my feeling is that we can make those decisions based on Tim's observations, based on the lifeguards' observations. If they're there at the beach working and there's people there, then clearly it's being used and we know our hours are adequate. I guess I get what you're saying about a survey. I don't have faith that it's going to reflect the true.
But we do it for other programs, so I'm not sure.
But satisfaction, not hours of operation,
Not policy.
not policy.
Program, like, I think it's easy to do a survey about a particular program, but it's difficult to get the information you need from a survey about policy, about a big, it's not just one particular program, it's the beach, it's the passes, it's sailing, it's, multiple programs within one sort of big
Well, you could break it
area.
up, and I thought we had talked about breaking it up for sailing and some of the other programs.
So Mike,
But again, that would be program-based, where we talk about, it'd be qualitative, talking about satisfaction,
Right, that's not policy.
hours, not.
So
yeah.
like I said, I'm more than
Let's-
happy to print this out for everybody and give you infographics, but this survey gave us that snapshot. It covered, are you a resident, are you not a resident? What is your age range? Have you attended any of our Park and Recreation Commission meetings? How often do you visit the park? What time period do you visit the park? Do you visit Long Lake Beach Park? What park and recreation resources do you use while at the park? What programming do you use at the park? What buildings do you use at the park? Do you feel the operating season is adequate? Do you feel that the current buildings are adequate? Do you feel the hours are adequate? If possible, what green additions? How agreeable are you to increase the annual beach permit? How agreeable are you to increase beach programming fees?
All right.
So we covered
Send that
all of
out,
those
send that
things.
out to us. We have October meeting, this is gonna all be discussed.
Yeah.
If we have questions, we can email you guys, let's move on.
Got it.
All right, so back to item 5,
Discussion on.
meeting
park
dates and time
Yep.
changes.
Mhm.
Have you touched base with LCTV, because that was the linchpin?
Yep, so if we want to stick with this time frame, so being the second Tuesday of every month at 7 PM, we have this room booked for the rest of the year.
Okay.
So if that's what you want to do, we can do that. If you do, the discussion is more on you guys. If you do want to change that, then I have to go back and have that conversation to see, like, do we have other meetings that we're competing with, or,
I'm
you know.
fine with this.
Tuesdays seem to be a
Yeah.
low key, I mean, sometimes FinCom, sometimes Board of Health, but, FinCom would probably trump us, Board of Health maybe not, I
Yeah.
think it's individual issues with us and Board of Health. So I think if we have this room booked and it's staffed with LCTV, let's,
Yeah.
for their sake,
Yep.
let's keep it this time,
Okay.
this place.
I can walk.
All right, so do you need a vote on that?
No,
Okay.
no.
All right. Director's report?
All right, so, let's see here. So first, I just want to say, I came back on August 12th, so, Tim and the rest of the staff did an amazing job, while I was off on medical leave, so I thank them all and really appreciate them holding down the fort. It's nice to be able to have that peace of mind when you're out trying to recover, so they all did a fantastic job. So, just kind of going through this list here, there's a new process through Munis to process credit card statements. So myself, Tim, John, and Rachel have all been trained on this process. And the reason I'm bringing this up to you all is just that, we may get into further discussion down the line with Board of Selectmen and with Finance. So currently, the way that the system is set up is that we have to all go in and verify our statements twice a month, and we have 10 days to process those statements. If we don't process those statements within 10 days, we are at risk of losing our card. And again, so the reason I bring this up is because one of the things that's special with the Park Commission is that you all vote to allow us to have those credit cards. So in the future, that might be something that comes up as a discussion, whether the town wants to keep the credit card option for departments or not. So I just wanted to kind of keep you aware of that. Another important piece, that we worked with in tandem with schools was the EEE statement, triple E. So at this point in time, Littleton is considered a low-risk community. So at this time, and it's written on the page right behind it, the statement that I sent out. So, our recommendations, because we're a low-risk community, is that, wear mosquito repellent between the dusk and dawn hours, wear long sleeves, long pants, closed-toed shoes from dusk till dawn. If you have kids outside, using a mosquito netting over baby carriages or playpens if they're outside. And so as a added precaution, we have sprayed the fields. Essentially, it's Long Lake Beach, Fay Park, 300 King Street, St. Anne's Field, and Shattuck Field. They've all been sprayed twice this summer and will be sprayed again this upcoming summer. And that's proactive. We don't necessarily have to do that, but like I said, we're trying to do the best that we possibly can.
Okay.
So we're also encouraging any coaches or programs that are out that they have bug spray on them so they can share it with the kids, parents, teams, whatever. So it's out there. So at this point in time, that's going to be the policy that both the Littleton Public Schools and Parks and Rec take. If for some reason that our status changes, let's say that we go up on the risk level, then we will meet again and we'll reassess what those steps are needed. I'm hoping that since, it's becoming fall, that, we hopefully will not have to deal with this for very much longer. But it is something that I think, unfortunately, we're going to have to keep continually discuss, year after year, because it seems like it's not something that's going away.
Okay.
So, yep. Let's see here. So I've been working with the town treasurer and the new finance director on amending the 2020 fiscal year budget for fall town meeting. So right now, I'm about 75% complete. So I should be able to get that completed over the the rest of this week. So I'll be able to present the final numbers at the October Park Commission meeting. But the one thing I would ask for is I put in a placeholder amendment for the fall town meeting, and we're on kind of a pretty compressed schedule to be able to get everything out for fall town meeting. So essentially, I have the article in here, so to see if the town will vote to amend the fiscal year 2020 enterprise budget as adopted pursuant to Article 7 of the May 6, 2019 annual town meeting by adjusting the budget line items or taking any actions in relation thereto. So it's kind of simple, and then later on when we get close to printing out the actual articles, that's when, we'll write that detail of, how much is going to be transferred.
Can you forward that
those kind of
along to
things.
us when you do have it?
Absolutely, you guys will be every step of the way. So I didn't want to bring, since it's only 75% complete, I didn't want to even talk
understand.
about numbers
Yep.
because things
Yep.
could change.
Yep.
So, but if I would like you guys to take a vote to approve that article, if you're happy with that, to go into the fall town meeting.
Okay. Entertain a motion.
So what am I saying? So a motion to accept the article as written in the director's report. Is that good?
Sure.
Is that a good motion?
I said, a motion to approve the fiscal year 2020 PRC budget amendment article for fall town meeting.
That sounds good to me.
What she said.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of approving the article as communicated by Alicia through Kevin? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Okay. All right, what else we got here? All right, so information and questions to ask. So, just thinking about things, I think town having a new town administrator, a new finance director, we've been, asking a lot of questions about policy, operations, things like that. So, so one of the things that I would like to bring to this meeting would be a monthly review of the PRC billing packets. And I know that Sean comes in and he signs those, but I think it might be good to have it as just a segment that if there's any questions that you have specifically about something that we purchased, that, again, it's publicized, we're talking about it publicly, and, we can have that discussion, rather than going through the process of, it still would be the same that you come in, sign the packets, but I think there should be a segment allotted for that, just to, if there's anything that you have questions about.
How often do you sign the packets? I thought it was weekly.
It should be weekly.
Weekly-ish.
Okay. So how do we manage that? If you want us to review things that he's already signed?
That's kind of the way that it would have to be, and I know that sounds a little backwards, but there's,
I guess it still provides oversight where we
Right.
can question you in retrospect
absolutely.
and slap you on the wrist if you're doing something wrong, which you're
Well,
not
but we
going
can
to.
change things, right? That's something that,
Yeah.
it's not the best way to be able, but at least there's that more engagement, especially in that public aspect
Yeah,
that,
no, it's fine.
I can bring the packets, the AP packets in, you can review them. You can come in anytime you want and review them as well.
Can you
so-
send them out to us?
It's a lot of information, but I
Well,
can't.
that's my fear, is that we get here and we have to review
I
30
know.
pages of bills, which.
Actually, if we send them the cover that we print out on all the bills packets, that's.
Oh, yeah,
pretty
because then you don't
It's
actually
only
have
There's
to
a
have
cover, and
bills.
then there's the
That's 1 to
receipts
3
are all
pages, so-
attached
Yeah.
to it.
And
Yeah.
then if you have questions, we
We'll
can
need
just
something
provide the
before the-
receipt.
So
to
I will
back
do
it
that
up.
on a weekly basis. Does that
Yeah.
sound good?
Yeah.
So then you're not overwhelmed with having to do that. So I can just scan it and send it out on a weekly basis.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I would also request that commissioners, that you guys can present to each other on your other committee seats. So Mike tonight is going to talk about CPC here a little bit. But, I think Kevin, you're on Space Needs.
I don't think they've met.
So I think they've actually folded.
Yeah, I think
So-
there's gonna be like a subcommittee and then the
Yeah, so I think you're kind of defunct at this point in time, so that's
Well, what's
your.
this
Oh,
next
that's
item? The
good.
next item says new space
I
needs
know,
analysis.
so we're gonna get there. But so going back to that, like sports council, things like that,
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
CPC,
That's
these kind of
fine.
stuff. We should be talking about that.
Well, I think it makes sense, whenever you bring up the agenda, like, I sent you something that I thought was germane
Yeah.
with the CPC. I don't know if you have to do it every month unless there is something to,
We could always leave it open
That
to.
there's space
yeah.
for it.
We could leave it
Yeah.
open to new business, or,
Yeah.
you could even set,
Yeah.
like the selectmen do, members' updates.
Yep,
Do you have an item for that? And if we don't have an update, you don't have an update. If you
Right.
do, you
yeah.
do.
Yeah.
okay, cool. And then, yes, so we're going to be going through another space needs process. So, I know, we actually will have a meeting with the company that's going to be kind of putting the report together. So our meeting time that we've been given is Tuesday, September 17th at 1 PM. So we have a little bit of time. So, in our department, we talked about in our staff meeting today that, we're going to kind of put that list together. I've asked the town administrator to see if there's any questions specifically that this company is wanting to be answered, so that we can pull and have that data for them ahead of time. But I would like to have a park commissioner present if possible, and I realize that that's 1 PM on a Tuesday.
That's a tough time.
really hard.
I'm committed, I cannot make it.
Okay.
Yeah, no way.
Why do they have it at 1?
Seriously.
I mean, they have everybody scheduled out, so it's like during the workday. Yeah.
Doesn't sound like we can make it.
Okay, so Fred is the only person then that I can kind of check with and see
Okay.
if that's possible for him to do. And then I'm going to be in England from September 30th through October 8th. So, yeah.
Okay, have fun.
So,
Nice.
one question I have is, I got this right over here. What's this?
I requested that list
Okay.
printed up, just so we could, in relation to the topic of funding the library, I just wanted to kind of have a list of the capital requests that we've requested over the last few years and things that are in our pipeline that we probably aren't gonna get if it's funded within the levy. So
You got it.
I asked Alicia to print that up, just in case it came up over the course of conversation.
Okay.
All right, so Mike, you're up. Update on Community Preservation Committee. Discussion on Park Commission's list of CPC requests.
Just give me a second, Mike.
Yep.
So one thing I do want to state before we start this conversation, again, we are on a really compressed schedule for getting an article in. So I don't, like, it's worth us having this discussion, but unless it's something very poignant, I don't know if it's really worth us going through the process right now to try to push it through for
I mean,
fall town meeting.
is there
Push-
something
push
specific
what?
that's come up?
Yeah.
No, that's why it's on as a discussion. If there's something that you feel should be a priority, or if you're concerned about
Are
something.
you talking about Mike's list?
CPC.
No.
Oh, CBC.
CPC.
Oh. You know, I just wanted to bring it, well, let me get into it.
Yeah.
And then it'll become a little bit more obvious. So, the last CPC meeting in August, there were 2 eligibility requests that were presented to the CPC by the historical under the CPA category of historic preservation. One was for, and it was a rough estimate, for the roof replacement of 12 Robinson Road,
Mhm.
and that's 60 grand right now. That's a rough estimate. The second, these were eligibility requests, so it's a 2-step process with CPC. The second one was 9,900 for the Gravestone Conservation Preservation Program. So this is the second phase at the town's old burying ground on King Street. Both were approved unanimously, and there's a CPC meeting tomorrow evening where the CPC is expected to review and I think approve the application funding for both, so they can make it onto town meeting. Mitt then asked, the chairman asked the question of the group as a whole, if there were any requests from our constituents in the pipeline. And he specifically asked me if there might be something that works from Park and Rec in regards to field space. So I told him at this point that we've had conversations, but they've been, the bathhouse was a priority, but based on where things are right now, I'd like to start possibly at least thinking about that a little bit more.
Yep. And just to kind of keep you up to date, we have started the discussion with AgComm, or at least I've kind of thrown it out to them about with Cooper Farm specifically, because parcel A, like Tim and I went out and looked at it, and there's no way that we're going to be able to create a field and parking in parcel A. It's just the size changed. So B looks like it would be possible for us to be able to do that. So that's something where when we went to town meeting, it was voted that parcel A was recreation, active recreation, and parcel B was going to be agricultural. So we would have to go back to town meeting in spring to, if they're on board. They may not be, but if they're on board, to swap those. It kind of benefits them, because if they would do that, then it abuts the Church Meadows property, so then that all would be
Yeah,
agricultural
I'm
together.
a bit peeved at the, the development, construction there. I
Well-
mean, they encroached, that was not the plan that they did, but I mean, that's neither here nor there.
No, I think it's been a really difficult road for them and for the town, so, however we got to, we're here.
Right.
So we just have to kind of move forward and think about.
So I guess
how
the
we'll
question I have,
process
and
it.
maybe I'll point to you, Mike, because you've been more involved. Probably the most recent field space. I mean, what do you think about the feasibility of going to B? Should we look at that? I mean, it looks like it's, to grade it so that it's level, Do you
It could be
think-
part of the
Yeah,
process.
I think, I mean,
Do you think, what do you think about the feasibility?
as far, I mean, I think it can be done. It's going to be more of the political that's going to be the hardest part, is,
Yeah.
getting them to transfer it over. I don't know if the selectmen have any appetite to, well, I mean, I guess what's done is done. It doesn't seem like we got the amount of land that we were
Promised.
promised,
Yeah.
so I don't know if there's any recourse there, I don't know if they even want to go down that avenue, but,
Yeah.
and what could be done, I don't know, but
I guess part of,
maybe, maybe there's I'm not gonna say that here.
well, part of my concern is, we ask for the, swapping parcels, and we find that, that it's too expensive, and, to make it feasible, that's part of my concern.
I mean,
So,
it
yeah.
can't hurt.
I don't know enough.
Can't-
I
It
don't
can't,
know
yeah,
enough.
it can't hurt to ask, and it can't hurt to kind of
See if they'd
do
be
some
willing.
investigating
Yeah.
and see if it's feasible.
Okay.
So I can reach out and
Okay.
kind of start that process. I know I have discussed it briefly before with some
Yeah.
people, but they're of the mindset that I think we are, that we didn't get the land that we thought we were gonna get.
Yeah.
That was one of the reasons why we pinpointed A as recreation.
Right.
I don't see any reason why we couldn't move to B from our standpoint. Can't imagine it's gonna cost much more to create a field than it would have over in A. We might get more space out of it.
But there's
but-
definitely more space there, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
At least-
So I mean, I've been invited to go do a walkthrough on Thursday. So if not all of you can
At
go. but
parcel
if-
A?
What time
It
Thursday?
would be parcel A, but it would be, so we could take extra time to go look at B as well.
Yeah, what time?
Hold on
And
one
with who?
second.
yeah, with who?
With Amy Green, from not Amy Green, I don't know why I said that, Marin Toohill.
Planning.
And William Pickard.
Interesting, okay.
So give me a second, let me pull up the email that I had in my calendar.
So, I know.
I would like, we should reach out to maybe Joe Knox and see if he could join.
Okay. I'll send you guys that date when I get
Yeah,
back. For
I
some reason
would
it's
like
not
to
coming
try
up
to
in my
carve some
email.
time out if possible.
Yeah, if one of us
It's
can
in the
make it.
morning, so I want to say it's like 9:30 or something.
All the
on
better.
Thursday
Yeah.
morning.
I don't have any meetings until the afternoon. I'm sorry, Tim, you want to?
No, it's fine. Just to make a point and to do nothing more than think about this, and I think it might be worth dedicating some time to, as in like a whole meeting coming up. But to the point of CPC funding, I think, and just in general where we're going, we have to look at a couple things. So fields are going to be important for the sole fact that if the sewer project goes through, we have to be mindful that we may lose that entire field space behind the high school for a period of time that no one knows what that is. So we have to think about that. And we have to think that that's going to be something that all of a sudden we're going to have a huge need for space, which then the fields are very, very important. The other piece that we need to look at that we had discussed in the spring that hopefully we can put on October's meeting is getting the St. Anne's contract done in the fall rather than waiting till the 11th hour in the spring like we did last year and then have them, kind of hold us hostage for whatever it is. So that's something that we need to think about before we go into next year to get on in October and November. And then the third piece of that is the total opposite of what I just said, that, fields could be the most important thing, that do we need to truly look at knowing that we have possibly are not going to be receiving capital and are looking at things, is our priority, is the next thing down the pipeline for us to create a community center, which is then a revenue generator that we can use to make up for some of the shortcomings that we have in other things like field maintenance, like parks maintenance, whatever those things may be. Because if we build another field first, that's more money that we have to come up with. If we build a center or a pool or something else that's a revenue generator for us to help us cover some of these costs that we're currently don't know where that money's coming from, that's just my 2 cents in what we should be doing as our future planning and when we're deciding what projects to put in front of another project at this level.
And we are at that point where we really need to start being very specific about having those conversations and it being, I come from a nonprofit background, so I don't like putting the priority on, what's going to be the profit generators, but the reality in the situation that we potentially could be getting into financially where we are at with this town, realistically, we need to be a little smarter and we need to be able to think about, how we're going to still be able to operate and provide the services that the town needs if the funds aren't available for us to be able to do things.
How do you envision funding that,
Yeah, exactly. I think,
the build?
yeah.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
So that's part of the
I mean, there is no, I mean,
We have
Well, there
grant
is-
options.
There's
We do.
the park grant, which is the largest grant
Yep.
in the United States for building a municipal building like what we're talking about, or something like that. There's also other opportunities. There's a lot of money out there that's untapped that we as recreation and open space can go after for this.
and that's great,
Yeah.
and we should do that. But if, I mean, I would imagine we're still gonna be looking to finance some X millions of dollars for the building.
Right.
We are not going to be able to jump ahead of the library,
No.
the senior center.
I agree with you.
Town hall, we're not going, I mean, we can try, and I'll
See,
put my best effort forward, but
I'm just saying that
The-
before we start thinking about things that are gonna cost us more money, we should also weigh the options on things that, we could phase out
and
to help
then,
us make
so,
money.
and then the town finances it for us, and then it's gonna turn into the beach again. We're gonna be making money off the people that are using it when it's gonna be considered a town asset.
So what
That's-
community center in the country, that's pretty much the case in at least 80 to 90% of them.
Okay, I mean,
Yeah.
happy to discuss
There's
it
things
further.
that
We
we
don't
can
need
do
to
for
The
free.
actually.
ones I've seen, they're not a break even, they're more break even. And I've seen them where they combine a community center with a pool, with a library. It's like
Yep.
services everything,
Yeah.
but it's not a revenue generator. It's run to break even, at least the ones, and most of the ones I've seen are actually in Canada.
Well, Canada is all about breaking even, so. No, but, the bigger picture items are, and not to muddy the waters or stir things up, but, do we need to have a bigger conversation on, when we're talking about building, this senior center, and everything else, and doing this mag center, doing a area where, it's used 20 hours a day rather than, 8 hours a day, and, where is our money? Who do we partner up with to do these things? We just talked to Mark about, partnering up to do things in this, grand space that's gonna be created. So the same mentality, and that's what I'm saying, because a field we know is gonna cost us money. It's gonna be, more things with Chris on, we don't have enough guys to mow it, we
Yeah.
don't have enough guys to stripe it, we don't have this. So I'm just trying to say, bigger picture as we look at these things, we have to look at, what are things that can help us achieve our goals, knowing that we might have this crunch coming up.
I'm all for you guys exploring that, coming up with big ideas. You guys have been doing a great job with that.
What's
Leave it
going,
at that
what's
for
what's
now?
going about?
We'll leave it there. I
High
don't,
school, the fields behind the high school.
Well, so if the
that's where the
sewer
that's
project,
where the leaching field's gonna go.
oh, for the sewer project?
Yeah, but there's already a huge leaching field back there. That's where, like, the pump at the middle school pumps everything to that field. There's a pump behind, where the porta potty is at Alumni Field? In the
Yeah.
parking lot? There's a
Oh, yeah,
big
yeah.
pump right there to the right.
Yeah.
That's I think it's a grinder too, but that pumps
Yeah, it's
everything
an
and
aerator
sends it to the,
grinder.
sends it to
And
the high
then
school
is there another
field.
like lift station down by the tennis courts? Because you walk by there, you
I'm
get
not
No,
sure
everywhere.
exactly.
Because even,
Yeah, there's even one right along, right along the road there.
yeah, because
But
town hall
it's
goes
reaching
to
its end life anyway, so
the
with or without
high
sewer
school
passing,
with
it's
that,
gonna,
right?
they're gonna have to do something within the next X number of years anyways.
Yep.
All right,
All right.
moving on. We did item 8, we just have upcoming events.
Yep. Mr. Mahalski, back to you, sir.
All right, I'll run through these quick. So October 5th, I hope to see you all there. We are having the first and hopefully annual Oktoberfest. We have had, most recently, I have had meetings with the sub shop and Deputy Chief Patterson as recently as the end of 2 Thursdays ago, just to kind of finalize all of the concerns that were addressed with alcohol and tip certification. Yes,
When-
Mike?
When's the time on these?
So I'm gonna go over that right now.
Okay.
So the event will begin at 12. It'll end at 6. We have the sub shop will be providing the beer truck. I believe it has 12 taps on it. They will also be providing fried food in the way of chicken fingers, french fries, and onion rings, and pizza. Andrea from the Littleton Cafe will be doing a full spread of authentic German food, of bratwurst, knockwurst, some other kind of wurst, spetzel, sauerkraut, and German potato salad, which can be bought individually or as a plate that has a taste of everything on it. We will also be having a pretzel company, a Bavarian pretzel company coming in. We have a 7-piece Oompa band coming in called Oompa Zoompa. So they will be playing 45-minute sets from 12:15 all the way up till the end at 6. The sub shop is bringing in the truck that does the Sam Adams World's Largest Stein Heist. So during one of the intermissions, we will be doing the Stein Heist. Whoever can hold the Stein up the longest will win a door prize. We will be doing a keg tossing competition. So we will have age groups on that during one of the intermissions.
Age
And then-
groups?
Age
You're going to have children throwing kegs?
What's that?
I hope
We
so.
do.
No,
We have,
Little
we have-
mini
Yes.
Heineken?
There's gonna be
Yeah,
the,
maybe
there's gonna be
one,
the
yeah,
40-something age class.
Yeah, so we do. We have some mini versions, and then we have an Alp horn blowing contest. The big horn that you see.
Ricola.
So we have some plastic ones coming in, but the gentleman who runs the Oompa Zoompa band he's bringing his actual Alp horn, and he's going to do a contest with the kids. And then we will also be doing a yodeling contest during one of the intermissions.
Oh, this sounds like a lot of
Fun
fun.
stuff going on.
Sounds like awesome.
So let's,
This is a favorite.
we get something, I mean, you're good with the marketing, let's get this out there.
Yeah.
Now, yeah.
People have been
So,
asking me when it is. And
The posters and the banners will be ready this Friday. So
Great.
they'll be going up around town. It's going to go live on Facebook tomorrow. Part of this was calculated to try to curtail the amount of people that we were getting for the first year, just to make sure that we were doing it right and we were set up. We do want people to show up. A couple hundred to 1,000 is kind of what my hope is. There will be a kids area with some bounce houses and some stuff for the kids to do, as well as some of our third Thursday craft vendors will be showing up.
So you said this is at Fay Park, right?
It will be a Fay Park.
Is the intent to create a beer area or rope off the whole park?
So all of Fay Park will be fenced in.
Good.
There will be 2 main access and exit points. There will be 6 auxiliary safety entrances that, if need be, we can open up if there's an emergency for people to get out.
Are we charging entry or
It
charging
is a
beer?
free event.
Free event?
Beer tickets will be $5 per. You will be allowed to buy 2 tickets at a time at the beer truck. The vendors are tip certified. You will need to go to an ID check where there's one of the tip certified, and there'll also be an officer station there. So basically, if anybody is getting intoxicated, it's kind of like a 3-step process. Not only do you have to buy the ticket, so that person's tip certified, the ID check is another stop, and then obviously the person who's serving you is another stop. And at any time, the Littleton PD or one of the sub shop employees can shut somebody down, as well as any town employee. So
Okay.
anybody who's there who feels concerned can, make that decision. And then there'll be, like I said, some of our third Thursday vendors who sell like arts and crafts and things like that. There'll be a little bit of a vendor area to entice some people who are, more in it for the arts and stuff to attend the event as well.
Great. Good job pulling that together.
Trunk or treat, October 26th. Please come. The theme is camping. So we are
Oh,
going
yeah.
to do a camping theme for our particular. So the theme of trunk or treat is not camping. The Park and Rec, our truck is going to be camping themed.
Yes.
So if you guys would like to come, put on your best camping attire, and come out and help us hand out candy to everybody. And then Holiday Helpers 5K, it will be done in cooperation with the Point again. So they're going to do 100% of the proceeds. They're going to cover the cost of the race so that 100% of the proceeds can go to the Holiday Helpers Fund as it did last year. They're also playing around with some ideas on what they can do to help do some other revenue generations to go towards the fund. Last year was an absolutely amazing year. We hope to continue to grow this event as well, get people to come out and do the race. So that's going to be December 8th, and it will be a 9 a.m. start.
Will you do me one favor?
Yes.
Will you tell people when they can sign up for a trunk for trunk or treat?
Yes. So it'll be the same thing as we did last year, but I believe we're going to try to go Friday or Monday. The seamless dock will be available to start filling out.
This Friday or this Monday? Okay, so you can think about your trunks, what you want them to be, and then you can sign up on Friday or Monday of next week
Yep.
to officially be put into.
Just keep an eye out on the Facebook page.
Yeah, perfect, excellent.
All right, great.
Hey, Tim, would you, you've done this before in the past, would you mind sending meeting notices out to us?
Absolutely.
Great.
New business. I have one item. How is the billing of the youth sports organizations going?
It's not really. So I have asked for numbers and I have not really received responses back on what the numbers were for the spring session. So yeah, we need to get that processed.
Okay.
Spring and summer.
When was the last time you sent an email?
Well, for soccer specifically, it's been within this last week. Baseball, I need to get in touch with them again. It's been a little while.
Lacrosse.
Yeah, I need to get in touch with the cross.
All right.
Yep.
Why don't you send out an email?
I will tomorrow. Yep. Okay.
Can you copy me on it?
Absolutely.
I can help facilitate them
Great.
getting those numbers to us.
Yep.
Okay, that's all. That was my only question.
Yeah.
You guys have anything? New business? All right.
Motion to
Entertain a
adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Second.
All those in favor of adjourn? Aye. Great. Thank you.
All right.